Welcome to our guest,
Deputy, good to see you again.
I just want to start off, I suppose, firstly by saying I certainly know I would much prefer to be focusing on the abysmal lack of corporate governance within RTE, but it's fairness to say that you did ask to come here, so to put your side on the record and to answer questions of us. And I just want to, yourself, Mr. Tubridy, first, I mean, you sat through 3 hours this morning and then we had the hour break, but just over the break on reflection, do you accept that in reality, and no one of the deputies raised it a few minutes ago, that you didn't actually take the 20% pay cut when you take on board the tripartite agreement that paid you 75,000? Yeah,
I understand why that perception is out there, but we have really tried very hard to explain the difference between being paid separately by Renault versus being paid by RT, and then the pay cut involved, and then trying to explain that also the accumulation of pay cuts to take it from 40% pay cut since 2012. I mean, I have tried to reflect that, but in answer to your question, which is obviously a very fair question, I can understand why there is confusion, and I can understand why there's a perception issue, of course, but it's not right.
Okay, but that's fair enough. But in reality, and that's why I said in reality,
yes.
RTE actually footed that bill. The public purse footed that bill. They'd no business underwriting a separate commercial deal, but they actually paid the 375,000 payments.
No. There's 375.
They paid. Sorry, no.
I'm sorry. This is why, and I say this really respectfully. This is why I am in such a terrible state at the moment, because there's been so much misunderstanding and misreporting, and about this and about these figures, and that figure you just mentioned, like that's not a real figure at all. And it's not a fair figure, and it just gets thrown at your head. And you're trying to. That's why we're here today, to try and write that, because unfortunately, like that story doubt. When a feather leaves the pillow, it's very hard to get that back. And unfortunately, with my good name, the feather has left the pillow. I'm here trying to put the feather back in the pillow.
And I'm hoping that you can put the feather back in the pillow, as you say.
Thank you, Deputy.
The 275 payments, the second and third year, they were paid by RTE.
Again,
they were paid by Astas.
Yes, but RTE made those payments to Astas.
The payments to us were Astas.
Yes, but they came from RTE.
But we didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's it.
No, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the misunderstanding.
Yeah, but you know now in hindsight.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you didn't know at the time or not is another question, Mr. Kelly. But you know now that RTE paid those payments. So that was my question to you initially, Ryan, in relation to the tripartite would have made up for the 20%. Yes. But even if you dispute that, and that's fair enough.
No, what I would say to you, it was for work outstanding, separate to what I had done previously in RT. So it was meant to be a separate content. The whole thing got muddled. Okay. And in fairness to Deputy Dillon, who asked the question about, if you don't do that work for Renault, whatever, what happens to that money? The money goes back. I'm not going to. I don't want money for nothing, for goodness sake. Like, of course. So I totally understand that. I hope that answers your question a bit better, maybe than earlier.
And just in relation to that, now that you know RTE paid for those payments, do you accept that was wrong of RTE to use the public purse to pay that?
I think it's been what I would say to you. I'm not here to be critical of RTE. I've been working there since I was 12 years old. It's a very important place to me. But I have to defend myself, okay? And the new Director General of RTE has asked for maximum transparency. That's what he said in the last 48 hours. That's why I'm here.
Okay. So you accept that was wrong for them to pay out of the public purse?
It strikes me as being unorthodox.
Okay, that's fair enough, thanks. I just want to ask Mr. Kelly, I find it very hard to believe, or I just don't find it credible, that you said earlier this morning that RTE initiated this whole deal, that RTE were the instigators of this tripartite deal, that the whole thing.
Sure.
But what I can't figure out is why, if your client was the only one to benefit from such a deal, why would RTE be the one to initiate a deal, to develop that deal that's going to cost them money by underwriting. But yet your client was the only one to benefit by that. I mean, it's clear you wanted a commercial deal, otherwise you wouldn't have entered into it in the first instance. And a guaranteed and underwritten payment by RTE. But at the same time, we were watching COVID spread from the east. And in February, while the emails were going back and forth around this deal, I think it was Italy had already gone into lockdown. So the deal, that was in February when Italy went into lockdown, and these emails were going round. So was it not a case that you saw a way for income to be guaranteed by RTE and lock them into that agreement that they would have to forfeit up, which transpires that that's exactly what happened?
I did the contract before COVID. The contract was done for the start of 2020 and COVID happened in March of 2020.
Yeah, but no, I've just told you that Italy had already gone into lockdown in February. These emails are going back and forth in February. And you had requested RTE underwrite the agreement. You told us that this morning. Sure. You had requested that they lock that agreement, that they were the fall guy. Had this, if any sponsor pulled out, or in the lack of no other sponsor. But you knew it was coming into COVID. You knew COVID was there. You knew the lockdown had already started, the likelihood it was going to come across, and that was your way of locking in. Now, who's ultimately responsible for all of this? I've said it from the beginning, the executive board of RTE. They're the one that underwrit a commercial deal that they'd no business doing. They're the one that raised false invoices, and your response you gave to that is not credible either. But they also put those payments through their barter account. But is it not true that the only person that benefited from this deal was your client?
No, because who would benefit from this deal? Obviously, Renault is a major sponsor, probably the biggest sponsor, I'm assuming, in RTE's portfolio. RTE obviously wanted to keep them on board. So who would benefit by having Ryan Tubridy doing roadshows for 5 years? Renault would, because then the association would obviously continue for that 5 years, and then I'm assuming that RTE then would keep Renault on as a sponsor. The relationship with RTE is with Renault. It's not with us. And in relation to the actual contract, this started long before. I mean, COVID was, well, when it really hit, it was the 13th of March 2020 when people had to work from home. This was before that. What I was asking them to do, and I never wanted RTE to underwrite this. This was always a relationship, a separate agreement with Renault. What I wanted RTE to do is that if there was a change of sponsor, and there still isn't a change of sponsor, so Renault was always going to pay for this. If there was a change of sponsor, that we would be able to, be part of that agreement, so that you wouldn't just, you have to do this, you have to do that.
But Renault did just do, it was just a 1 year agreement. They did just the 1 year agreement.
No, it was a 5 year agreement. And Renault is still sponsored, but the first 2 years, 20 and 21, were pushed out because of COVID. And the first lot of events happened in 22, and then the other 6 are owed. And as Ryan said, if they want them to be honoured, and we're still in contract, he will honour them, and if they don't, he will hand the money back.
But RTE had underwritten that agreement at your request.
What RTE were underwriting with me was that they would interact with whatever new sponsor was there, but again, all under instruction from RTE, Deputy.
Yeah, does it not sound more plausible that, as I said, your client was the only one to benefit? We were coming into COVID, you sought them, you asked, negotiated that they underwrite the agreement. They're responsible for underwriting it and all the shenanigans we've seen since. But at the end of the day, you had asked them. But I've only a couple of seconds left. Just one final question, Mr. Kelly. When RTE published the salaries, and particularly your client's salary, you would have known that wasn't correct as such, right? And you'd have checked the published figures. But even for the sake of your own client, optically, why did you not, the fact that they were being misrepresented, what did you do about that?
Well, we had asked before, because again, the top salaries, there's 10 or 15 minutes notice, then they're out. It's generally a Friday, so we put in the contract that we wanted at least, could we have 48 hours notification? If we'd had notification on all of this, we would have been able to say, this is wrong, they were wrong.
But you didn't call it out after it, though.
No, we did. We actually put it in the contract negotiations that we want to be
But
informed.
publicly, I'm saying, it would have saved him your client a lot of hassle and having to explain things. You didn't.
So in the document, page 6, you'll see, please note that these matters are private and confidential. Any pure, as in figures and fees gone out, any pure set to be released by RT needs to be discussed in advance of any publication. This includes salaries and pay cuts. And so we like, of course you want to see them, but they're out. You know, literally.
Yeah, but you could have set the record straight.
But that's exactly what we did there, page 6 of this document. That's exactly what we're doing.
This document, I'm talking about publicly. You would have saved Mr. Tubridy a lot of questions and hassle had you called it out publicly at the time.
But as you can see, under declaration, over declaration, RT put these figures out, not us. And if we had put them out, and also they were stated.
Yeah, it just seems to be, and I'm not saying they're in the thick of it, but there seems everything today is RTE's fault, RTE's fault, RTE's fault. This is a simple enough question that you, as your client's agent, could have publicly rectified. It's not the biggest issue, but you could have publicly rectified it, and you chose not to.
We informed RTE, and we also tried to put it in as part of the contract. RTE are the ones that keep on sending the figures out, not us.
You didn't correct it.
I have to move on. Thank you, Deputy Munster.